So this is a video response to eBuzz Central. And let's go over to his page real quick. I've been a subscriber. I've been keeping up with his videos for several months now, maybe even a year, and been a subscriber for a while. And I actually have the little bell notification turned on, the whole bit, right? He does decent distro reviews. He does. The problem is the fanboyism. That's the problem that I have with eBuzz's videos. And, it's one thing to be a fan of something. It's one thing to enjoy something and really want to show it to the masses. But when you let that turn into, when you let it ruin your objectivity, when you let it start making you where you tell half-truths or even outright lies, I think you've gone a little too far, and these are all things that eBuzz here has done, and I'm going to point that out as we go along here. First off, I want to say a couple things. I've been running Linux since 2005. Okay, I'm not sure how long eBuzz has been running Linux, but I've been running Linux in one form or another since 2005. I've run Windows, I've run Mac. I currently own several Macs. I currently own a couple of PCs that either run Linux or run Mac OS, okay? I am not a fan of Windows. I ran a computer repair business and a computer repair shop for over 15 years, and I absolutely despise Windows in every regard, okay? So let's go ahead and get that out of the way now. But I will say, I don't think a channel like eBuzz Central is doing Linux any favors, because he's either outright lying some of the time or spreading half-truths, and he knows it to be half-truths, okay? And what I mean by outright lies is a while back, several months ago, when I first started watching his channel, he said that he had never had, at the time he was running Manjaro KDE, which is exactly what I'm running right now, and we can go to my info here. And let's go to Info Center. So there you can see I'm running Manjaro KDE right now. These are my specs. Yeah, they're modest specs, but it works pretty well for me. Excuse me. So I'm running the same operating system that eBuzz said he was running back when he started having problems with Manjaro, right? He said he had never had a single issue with Manjaro. And I said in the comment section, it's just a matter of time. Eventually, updates will absolutely nuke your system. They will fry the system at some point. It's just a matter of when. Well, he argued with me, said he'd never had a single issue. Okay. A few weeks later, guess what? He installed updates. It fried his system. He got all butthurt when he went to the Manjaro forums, and they basically told him to go stick it. Okay. So there you go. I told you were going to have problems. It's just a matter of time. I've been running Linux, I would say, probably longer than you. And I told you, it's just a matter of time. I've installed Manjaro maybe 40 to 50 times on real hardware and inside virtual machines. The GNOME Edition, i3, KDE, whatever. And eventually, updates always kill it, as they do any Arch-based system. And I told you this, and then it happened to you, and then you got all butthurt about it. Now, later, maybe 2 months later, you come out with another video and said, you've never had updates kill your system. You've never had any Linux updates mess your install up. You've never had a problem with, and that was a blatant lie. And I refreshed your memory down in the comment section and reminded you of your little episode with Manjaro KDE. But aside from that, let's go ahead and get started on this video, and let me explain why what eBuzz is saying in the majority of his videos are half-truths, okay? Let's hear what he has to say here.
Linux is just too hard to use. I am ready to remove this BS from people's minds. Linux isn't hard to use. Here's what I get most of the time in my comments. Too many Linux distros. Linux sucks and it's hard to install. Linux is hard because you have to use the terminal. No app support, and you cannot game on Linux, which all of you know is pretty much crap now in Linux. You can pretty much do anything you want, whether it be office work, whether it be editing videos. You can do pretty much everything that you need to do inside of Linux. So my question is, When do we stop it? When do we stop the madness? What do we need to do? And most of the times I'm going to ask somebody, when was the last time you installed an operating system?
Okay, let's stop right there. When was the last time I installed an operating system? Today. I installed a Linux Mint Beta on a flash drive, and then I ran it on my MacBook Pro. Okay, and before that, day before yesterday, I installed Deepin, the latest version of Deepin. And before that, I installed Manjaro KDE on a Mac Mini. And the day before that, I installed Manjaro Gnome on a ThinkPad, a Lenovo ThinkPad. So I install some version of Linux or some flavor or some new distro probably 2 to 3 times a week minimum. And I've been doing this for probably, I don't know, since 2005. So ever how many years that is, 15, 16, 18 years, whatever. That's how long I've been doing this. So I have used probably damn near every Linux distro out there and probably many, many versions of those distros. So if that gives you an idea of my background and how much experience I have with Linux, there you go. All right, now let's take some of these things you're saying into account here. You said that Linux is, these people are saying Linux is hard to install. Well, yes and no. It depends on what version of Linux you run, what distro you install. If you're talking about installing Linux Mint, no, it's very easy. If you're talking about installing Zorin OS, Ubuntu, even Fedora, yeah, you're looking at a very straightforward Calamari's installer usually. Not hard to do at all. If you're talking about installing Arch, the Arch way, that's not an endeavor that most people want to undertake. It can be a little bit complicated and a little bit off-putting. When's the last time you tried installing Gentoo and getting that up and running? So there are some Linux distros out there that are not very easy to install. So again, what you're saying is not completely a lie, but it's a half-truth. There are many Linux distros that are very easy to install, and there are some that are downright difficult to install. So you need to at least be honest with people about that. Okay, you say games. Gaming on Linux, okay? Yeah, they have Steam and all this. Gaming on Linux sucks, okay? You're not going to find anybody who's heavily into playing online games or AAA titles that runs things on Linux. It's just not feasible, okay? So, yes, you can game on Linux. Is it an optimal experience for gaming? Absolutely not. Again, you tell a half-truth, okay? It's possible to game on Linux, but it's not an optimal experience. It's possible to install Linux on your toaster, but it's probably not very practical, okay? What else did you say here? Office work, you can do your office work in Linux. For most people, yeah, they can do their office work in, OnlyOffice or LibreOffice. Sometimes it may or may not be compatible with Microsoft Office. Just depends on what you want to do. Video editing. Video editing in Linux absolutely sucks. Period. It absolutely sucks. The best thing they have going for them is Kdenlive and DaVinci Resolve, but DaVinci Resolve, you can only get it to work on some machines some of the time if it feels like it, if you have the right graphics cards and all the gods are smiling on you that day, yeah, you can install DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve is kind of a non-issue here because there's so few computers, so few things you're actually going to be able to install that on. Let's not even include that, okay? What do you have left? Kdenlive? Kdenlive sucks. It may be the worst video editor I've tried to use in my life. I've been trying to use Kdenlive for like 4 years now, off and on, and it still sucks. It sucked on day one, and it sucks even worse now. It's horrible. It's buggy. It crashes. And yeah, it's improved a little bit, but it still sucks, okay? Especially when you compare it to a professional level video editor such as, Final Cut Pro on a Mac. Even iMovie is a hell of a lot better than Kdenlive, okay? And I would go so far as to say Final Cut Pro is better than DaVinci Resolve. So yeah, while you can, in theory, do video editing on a Linux machine, again, is it an optimal experience? I don't think so. Again, I think it's a half truth. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to what else you have to say here.
If your answer is a few years ago, or when I first got my PC, or maybe back in 2005, 2010, it's time that you try to install an operating system. But don't pick Windows. Go out on a ledge. Take a chance. Try installing Linux. I know that people have previously complained about it being options that you can use on Linux. Now, if you come to my channel, I turn it into an operating system. Installation is where people supposedly find it most difficult. You got, put in your password. It does.
Okay, another thing. You said that you don't have to use the terminal in Linux, okay? That's a half truth. No, you probably won't have to use the terminal in Linux if you don't install an Arch-based distro. If you install a Debian-based distro, you probably won't ever have to use the terminal unless you have a problem. When you have a problem, you are going to go look up this problem on Google. And when you do, these people in these forums, these helpful communities, as you talk about them, they're going to give you a solution that's terminal-based. They are not going to tell you how to bring up a GUI-based solution. So yes, you will absolutely, if you use Linux long enough, you will absolutely have to use the terminal and have to learn how to use the terminal, or you won't be using Linux very long. So again, a half-truth.
Does all the hard work for you. You're ready to do business. You're ready to get applications. You can go in here like Caden Live if you wanted to install it.
It
you just
sucks.
click right here, and it's going to
Don't install that shit.
Windows. But let me show you something. You got a GUI right here. This is what this is called, graphic user interface. Because I can't use the terminal. No, you're not. Now, a lot of people will also say Windows is just easier to navigate. System if you want to. You can't do that on Windows. I know you're comfortable with Windows. I know.
Okay. He goes on to say here that, every day, he can put on a different distro and he can do things a different way in Linux, and he can, you can be on Ubuntu one day and he can be on Manjaro the next, and he can be on something else completely different the next, and different desktop environment. One day he's on KDE, the next day he's in Cinnamon, the next day he's in XFCE, the next day he's in whatever, i3. Great. Most people don't want to do that, right? No, most people, they want their operating system to work. They don't care about completely changing the way they do things 2, 3, 4 times a week. They don't care about the package manager. They don't care about removing or installing, or they don't care about any of that shit, okay? Most users don't even change their fucking default wallpaper, okay? I ran a computer shop for over 15 years. Most users don't change their default wallpaper. They don't give a shit about how much you can customize the system. They don't care about, one day I can have a standard Windows style menu, and the next day I have a keyboard based i3 window manager, and the next day. They don't care about any of that. That's a hobbyist thing. That's not for people that do actual work. Nobody gives a shit about that, okay? That's not most people. You're looking at things from a strictly fanboy environment. And believe me, I understand. I'm very much a distro hopper. On some of my machines, I like to try out different distros. But on my production machines, I like to install one distro, get it set up the way I want it, make it reliable, set up some backup applications like my Cups backup and my Time Shift backup on my KDE, and leave it alone. I just want it to work. I want to come in here, wiggle my mouse first thing in the morning, and my computer greet me with the same shit I left the day before. I don't want any surprises. I don't need to have to figure out new keyboard bindings every couple of days, okay? That's not practical for most people. So, again, and all through this video, there are half-truths, okay? Half-truths. Like, you'll say, you can do this, you can't. Yeah, you can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean it's the optimal experience, okay? I can get to Walmart from here, which is a 9-mile drive. I can get there by walking in the cold and the rain, Okay, I can get there eventually. Would it be better than jumping up in my BMW and driving there at a high rate of speed? Probably not. Probably not the same type of experience. So while you can do something, doesn't necessarily mean you should. And I wish you would be more objective and at least tell people the pros and the cons of what they're doing and what they're about to do and what they're about to install on their computer, and that there are limitations. And that there are things that Linux just cannot do as well as Windows. And there are things that Linux cannot do as well as a Mac. Okay? So by you telling people, no, you can do absolutely everything in Linux that you can on Windows and Mac, that's only partially true. You might can kind of, sort of do some of it, but it's not going to be optimal, and it's sure as hell not going to be the same experience as you would have on a Mac. Okay? So quit trying to compare those things. Let Linux be what Linux is. Okay? It doesn't need you pushing it on people, unsuspecting people, thinking they're going to be able to play Call of Duty and edit their videos on a professional video editor and be able to run their Photoshop and all this. It doesn't need you telling people that they can do that just so they can install the latest version of whatever and find out real quick that they can't do any of those things as effectively as they could in Windows and on Mac. All right? So I wish you would try to be a little more objective, and I wish you would stop flat out lying to people about your experience with Linux. But anyway, that's what I got right now, and I have left several comments. Pretty much every video you come out with, I'll leave 1 or 2 comments in the comment section, and I notice you don't reply to them. And sometimes I'll leave detailed responses calling you out on some of the BS that you perpetuate on this platform, and I notice you haven't responded to any of it yet. So I'm just going to put this in video format and leave it here for other people to see. All right, guys, I'm going to be turning out several more of these videos. I'm not done with eBuzz yet, so I will be turning out a few more of these at some point, and some other Linux-related content. Thanks for watching.